Do you feel that? Do you feel that expectations, because you guys have Brady and Gronk and all this stuff that's there, and as a leader on this team, like how do you kind of contain that, I guess?
Yeah, so certainly there was more media coverage that there than has ever been since I've been on the team. So there's certainly a lot of media coverage, and so there's I think there's external expectations, right? So those that you see on NFL Network or wherever, and there's also our own internal expectations, and those kind of have, for me, have always been the same, which is we're going to the Super Bowl. And that's been the same conversation I've had with guys since being here. So yes, I'm certainly the external conversations and expectations have changed, but for us, I think as our approach to the game, no, I mean our expectations are always as high as can be.
Okay, next up we have Ira Kaufman. All right, no luck. We're going to go ahead and jump over to Justin Granite.
I got it. I got it, Chris.
All right.
Ali, thanks for doing this. Talk a little bit about the excitement about blocking for Tom Brady, Ali, but also the responsibility from an old lineman standpoint. I mean, he's not Lamar Jackson. He's going to be 43. And you understand that if you keep him upright and healthy, he's the key to this team going a long way. So talk about that responsibility from your position.
Yeah, so I'll speak firstly to the excitement. The excitement's there, right? So like I'm fired up to be able to play with someone who's had so much success in the NFL. So I think we all are, and to learn an approach to the game that we're all hopes can change the way we really take on each team. But I think for how I approach each game and blocking for him, I mean, it's not like if you're blocking for Jameis or you're blocking for Brady. I mean, it makes that much of a difference. I mean, for me, I think it's my job is I'm always doing the best job that I can, and I think that's what I'll continue to do. Whether that's Jameis or Brady or Griff or Blaine. I mean, for me, it's always just how can I, at least in pass pro, how can I hold up the longest and how can I win my block for as long as I possibly can. I don't know if that necessarily changes with having Brady back there. I mean, and that's just my individual approach.
Okay, next up we have Justin Granite.
Ali, I know you're a Lightning guy. Seeing the format and them come back, does it give you guys a sense of hope that eventually all this is going to work out in terms of sports, and just to see the fact that one of these major leagues is getting started and ramped up to go, does that get you even more excited knowing that there is that hope out there?
Yeah, no question. So I think the fact that just the nature of when Corona hit, I think that gives us, it kind of allows other sports leagues to, really be the guinea pig for how to, what protocols should be put in place and what's the safest way to, return to sport. And I think that we'll be able, as of, the National Football League, we'll be able to learn from other sports leagues and how they do things. And we also understand that, I think right now baseball's struggling. I mean, there's obviously a lot of complications that go with it. And I think that if we can learn from these other leagues, that's going to benefit us quite a bit.
Okay, next up we have Luke Easterling.
Ali, you touched on this a little bit, but, obviously everybody's excited with having, somebody like Tom Brady be the quarterback. But, you and Jameis came in the same year, the same draft class. You blocked for him most of your career. Is there a challenge to the human side of being in the National Football League and having that kind of turnover where, you're not just blocking for a different quarterback, but you also have a guy that, has been your teammate for 5 years? And how do those relationships change, and how challenging is that as just a human being to see those things turn over from year to year?
Yeah, no question. It's just kind of the nature of our profession, right? I mean, I don't know exactly what the stats are on the turnover for each year, but gosh, I mean, there are probably only a handful of guys that have been, that I've played with my entire career, right? That have been here with the Bucs in 2015. I know there are a couple, Levante, Will, Golson have been here before, but for me, I mean, yeah, there's always turnover. So, I mean, I think there's, I don't even know, 6 or 7 guys that I've played with since 2015 that are still on the Bucs. And I think that, it's rare, but it's such a good core group of guys that we're really fortunate to have those consistent kind of players that are going to hopefully be here for when we make a legitimate run at the Super Bowl. Is what we're all trying to do. So.
Okay, next up is Jen Elaine.
Hi, Ali. Thanks for doing this. You being an offensive lineman, how important is it for you to have an off season, right? Because you play a position that's different from, say, skill positions and things like that. Strength building is a big component of it, right? So, like, how difficult is it to maybe not have the same regular access to, the strength facilities you normally do this time of year?
Right. So it presents its challenges. Fortunately for us, we're all kind of facing similar challenges, and we're all kind of able to, every offensive lineman, right, is facing that kind of issue, and every defensive lineman, the guys that I'm competing against, are facing those kind of issues. So it's really about how we can respond and figure out creative solutions to these problems that we're kind of facing. And hopefully I can do that better than the guys that I'll be playing against.
Okay, next up we have Kevin Lewis.
Thanks for doing this. We spoke with Devin White last week he said he thought the defense might be the better half of the team this year, and that the young players both wanted to be, their half. And especially for the young players, just what have you seen, and do you kind of enjoy that tug of war going into a season like this?
Yeah, for such a long time, we just play against ourselves, right, during training camp. And that's such a huge element, I think, to have both sides of the ball improving each other, right? So I think playing against good players makes you better. And I think having a competitive approach to wanting to have the better side of the ball, right, is always helpful. So without a doubt, I love that Devin White thinks that the defense is going to be the driving force for me. Obviously, selfishly, I think it's going to be the offense. So I love that competitiveness, and I think that that's what's going to make one aspect that can make this team great. But really, it just makes the practice more fun.
All right, next up we have Greg Auman.
Hey, Ali, appreciate you doing this. Ali, I want to ask you about the offensive line as a whole. Obviously, you guys add Tristan Wirfs there on the right side, but otherwise, it's pretty much the same starting gang and the same characters back from last year. I want to ask you how you feel like the line is as a whole, and how equipped you guys are for the challenge of an improved run game and protecting Tom Brady this fall.
Yeah, so I do think that our group, even though they're the same guys, are guys that want to improve on themselves and get better and get stronger and better shape. So I think that you'll see better years from everyone. Donovan will play better, Ryan will play better than the year before. I think you'll see that everyone's going to work to play a little bit better because we have that sort of mentality and approach. Just always kind of improving on ourselves. So I really do expect, better results, just better results in the run game next year.
Okay, next up is Steve Isbitz.
Ali, what are some of the positives from a football perspective to meeting strictly online with coaches and teammates? And also, is Joe Haig in the mix yet? And what are your impressions of him? Yeah, so
I've worked out with Joe, gosh, a little while ago now, but I've met Joe before, and I know he's a tough dude. He's a good football player. I've seen him on tape for a while now. So I think that he's an excellent addition for us. I think he's going to fit right along in our, pretty welcoming offensive line room, if I may say. The actual specific benefits from meeting online versus in person, gosh, I think I'd always rather be around guys in the locker room. So all I can say is we're all kind of facing the same sort of challenges. I prefer to be with everyone. But at least we still are able to get our meetings virtually and still able to learn and get better that way. So.
Okay, next up we have Ed Encina.
Hey, Ali. It seems like you guys are pretty tight group as an offensive line. And when you talk about adding in a rookie like Wirfs, what do you guys, the veteran guys, have to do to kind of bring him along? And what you guys kind of did, with Kappa. What do you guys have to do to bring a guy along? And what are the keys to a rookie lineman seeing early success in the NFL?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I think what it looks like to be successful in the NFL for a rookie really kind of does depend on what a rookie needs. I mean, I don't know him that well personally yet, but what's going to be different for what's going to work for him to make him succeed might be a little bit different than Kappa. So, I mean, I think that kind of actually depends on who you're dealing with. So we'll figure that out when he gets here. I'm sure Goody and Joe Gilbert, we got the best out of him as well. But we'll do everything that we can to help him along. But as of right now, I don't know what it's going to be for him specifically. What's going to be the biggest thing to improve on?
And next up is Luke Easterling.
Ali, we talked about it earlier in terms of the player turnover, but especially with this kind of offseason and how unique it is, how much do you think it may help you guys, the fact that you really had little, if any, coaching turnover this offseason, and you're going to go into this season with the same coaches, the same schemes, and things that a lot of you guys are already comfortable with?
Yeah, so I think that teams with new schemes, new coaches, first-year coaches it's going to be a little bit harder because you have less time, obviously, to install the playbook. So I think for us, it gives us maybe a slight advantage of having, been in the same system and, the same terminology. So I think that's just plays to just a benefit for us, and we're fortunate in that way.
Okay, we only have time for a couple more. We're going with Ira Kaufman.
Ali, you've been watching Brady do his thing for more than half your life, Ali. And one of his great attributes is getting the ball out quick, going through his progressions quickly. Is that going to be a nice benefit for you and your group in pass protection? And does it change your approach at all?
Yeah, so I mean, again, I think similar to my answer earlier, I think like for us, like I'm blocking my dude for as long as I possibly can, right? I mean, like, hopefully the quarterback gets it out in time. Hopefully my guy's not making a play. But yeah, so from my end, like my approach, like as I get up to line every play, like I'm trying to lock my dude down for as long as I can. And does it help if like I mess up and the quarterback's able to get it out on time? Sometimes that can help you and get it out early. Yeah, that can be a benefit. So sometimes it can, cover up maybe a mistake that an offensive lineman has. But ultimately, for us, I think the approach is always, how can I lock my dude down for the longest or the run game? How can I make my guy a non-factor, really? And that's I think that would continue for all of us. It should.
Okay, next up we have Andrew Kazee.
The narrative of this team in the last couple of months is that you had to improve the offensive line. You spent the first-round draft pick on upgrading the offensive line. Would you say there's maybe, whenever you hear things like that, would you say there's maybe a chip on the shoulder there in the offensive line room? Is there pressure? Is it both? Is it neither? What's your mindset there in the offensive line room?
Yeah, so I think I can really only speak for myself, right? So I think it may be different for other guys. But if I'm speaking for myself, I really think that what the perception is and how I feel about it, I feel much more confident in how I feel about it than whatever the perception is, right? So like, I really don't put much into that. Now, I think that, an offensive line coach may, try and use that as a tool to motivate guys or something like that. And that could be useful sometimes. But ultimately, no, I mean, for me, it's about how I feel, what kind of effort we're putting forward and, how we're preparing and are we doing everything we can possibly do to be successful? And if we're like kind of checking those boxes and we're doing all that, then that's what I'm going to ask for.
All right, time for two more. We're going to go with Zach Maskovich, followed by Justin Granite.
Communication is so important among an offensive line and an offense in general. What has your guys' communication been like during this pandemic with the entire offense, the offensive line? We saw Brady kind of organizing little makeshift practices. From your standpoint, how have you guys been communicating?
Yeah, so we have virtual meetings, so that's one aspect of it. And then also, I mean, we're everyone's pretty close, right, on the offensive line. So we just stay in touch with each other. But obviously, some of us are out of town. Some of us aren't in Tampa. And we just kind of we stay in touch when we can. But other than that, it's just the virtual meetings. I mean, that's about it. I think when we have the opportunity to be around each other more, that's when we're all, that's when we all love playing the game of football, is when we're around each other. So we're all looking forward to that.
All right, and then our last one's going to come from Justin Granite.
Ali, you're the first Buck we've got to talk to since the match. What do you think about Brady's swing? And if you were his caddy, what would be your advice mid-round?
So I'm not a golfer, but I will say the eagle hit, like, that's all I can comment, right? Like I love that. I mean, you can maybe not be so successful on a bunch of other shots there, but if you hit one, that's what it's like. Honestly, that's how it feels for an offensive lineman. Like, a D line has a terrible game, but he has one sack. All of a sudden, he's a great player. You know what I'm saying? So, like, that's what Brady did when he was playing golf there.
Awesome. Well, that's all we got for you today. Appreciate you taking the time, Ali.
Yeah.